Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm Damo. So on today's video, bit of a lockdowny type special. Three things. We're going to go over the history of the 944 behind me, a little bit of a story we found out about it. We're going to talk about the costs and the money that has been spent on this 944, and we're going to talk about the videos that are going to be done in the future on the channel and ask for your input too on the things you'd like to see. So before we get started then, if you haven't done already, please subscribe to the channel, click the little bell icon, and then you get notified whenever there's another new video. Thank you so much if you have subscribed already, and for all of those people who take the time out to comment, like and share and subscribe and do all the good things to interact with the videos. It really helps, and it's so cool and nice to see. Cheers. So as you can see, we've now got two black German beasts in the garage. It's the first time I've actually managed to get two cars in this garage, and you can see it's a bit of a squeeze. That toolbox admittedly is precariously placed there, and there's a lot of rubbish. It's not rubbish, well, it is kind of rubbish. It's the stuff you keep and store in the garage. Anyway, the point is two cars are in here, which is quite nice to see. I enjoy sort of looking after the cars, and I just love the fact that the TT is just kind of mint condition, and these two cars almost, I suppose, share to some extent. There's a bit of family lineage going on, I suppose, with connection with Audi and Porsche historically, and the fact that they're both 2+2 coupes. I'd like to say they have similar power outputs, I suppose they don't, but in a way, would you arguably say that the TT is the only really German spiritual successor to the 944, even though it wasn't necessarily classified as a rear-wheel drive car? Anyway, I think it's kind of cool having them next to each other. We'll talk a little bit about what videos we're going to do on both of them in a second, but let's jump in here into the 944 with its LED lighting. In the 944, LED lighting, so it kind of gives a bit of a bright, sharper white light, which I'm not a big fan of. You can see the car cover over there. What you also get is, because you've got this sun visor built into the windscreen, it makes you look like you're green slightly. So, a little bit of a story. Part one of this video, a little bit of a story on the 944. So, I found this quite interesting. I love discovering the history of cars. Obviously, cars like the 944, any sort of modern classic cars, they're generally a following out there. People often see, know, recognise the same sort of cars that come up and are out and about. I posted a tweet on Twitter, because that's where you post them, tweets. I tweeted about one of the upcoming YouTube videos, and somebody obviously recognised the number plate on the 944, which is on the thumbnail, which appeared on the tweet, and commented that they recognised the car, which I thought was kind of cool. Anyway, long story short, it transpires that this person had driven this 944 back in around the 2011 period. So not the people I bought it off, not the people they bought it off. That person had it since kind of 2012, I think. But the people before that, this car was part of the Classic Car Club London's fleet. So it was one of those ones where you can kind of turn up and drive lots of different classic cars. So that was really cool, and he actually sent me pictures of it in the London, the Classic Car London place, which, you know, again, is kind of cool. Consequently, so a little bit of a side story here. What I then did, I should maybe just contact Classic Car Club London. I haven't done. I'll put a link down below so you can have a look. What I did do is actually go on archive.org to see their website in the past to see if I could see the 944 in their list of cars. I couldn't, sadly. And that may be, so I've since been informed, it may be that it was just that it wasn't actually owned by them. It was owned by somebody else who kind of loaned it to them to help pay for the sort of running costs of the car, or who just didn't use it very often. I think that can kind of happen. Certainly the name of the person who owned it around that time is actually a person, not a company as well. So, where did that lead me? It led me to searching back through the Classic Car Club London's Facebook post and photos, and I found in there, around 2012, a light blue coloured Porsche 968, and it looked extremely similar to one my dad owned in the early 2000s when we used to go to meets and car things together. to the point where I was convinced it was his. The number plate, I looked at it, was the same. Okay, I was like, I'd sort of found it. I mean, he sold it in, I don't know, 2006, 2005, 2006, and I haven't been able to find any details on the reg plate since. So getting information about it, newer information around 2012 was like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. I thought, wow, I found it, or you know, a bit more history about it. I'll find out. Anyway, I since found another picture of my dad's 968 and compared it, and guess what? Would you believe the number plates are exactly the same, apart from they are 1 digit out. So I think my dad's was K727 and VVU, and this 968 was K728 VVU. I mean, in itself, having seeing a kind of sister car number plate, one up or one down, is quite is an extremely rare occurrence. To do it with a rare model like a Porsche 968 is again really rare. Anyway, that one is still on the road. I suspect my dad's one probably, hopefully, exists somewhere on a private plate. But I just thought, there you go, part one, a little cool story about the history of the 944. Right, for part two, let us manoeuvre ourselves out of the 944 into, I nearly said the 968, it's not, into the TT, the Mark II 3.2 Audi TT V6 Quattro. And you'll notice, this is the problem having two Audis with the same keys. That's the key for the Audi A4. You always kind of flip. I did that once. You come out and you're kind of pointing the remote going, why is it not working? It's the one for the wrong car. There we go. You'll notice the driver's door is over there, by that wall, by that pillar. You're not getting in and out of that. So it's great having this car in here, or having two cars in here. It's not so great actually getting in there, because consequences, you have to be careful with the doors. You have to climb over from the passenger seat into the driver's seat. For a person of advancing years such as myself, it's not always the easiest thing to do, but there you go. Okay, so straight away getting into the Mark II Audi TT in the passenger seat. If you're in America, it's obviously the driver's seat. It's darker in here. The lighting's a bit different, but not having the cream interior that the 944 has. It's a bit more, I don't know, it's a bit more somber, a bit more low-key. It certainly feels a lot more modern. And just looking at the layout in here and the big chunky center console, it's a much more meatier car than the old sort of low-down, let's face it, origins in the 70s 944. It's interesting. Which leads me on to what videos I'm going to do next on the channel. So I'm going to ask you, first of all, if you'd like to see certain things about either the Mark II Audi TT and even the A4 B7, which does pretty well on the channel, or the Porsche 944, what things specifically are you interested in, A, knowing more about, B, seeing, interested in repairs, running costs, ongoing sort of challenges, what they're like, etc. Write in the comments, tell me what you think, tell me what you think, tell me what you'd like to see on the channel regarding the cars that are currently in the pedal out fleet. Okay, so on to part 3 of today's video, and what I thought I would do is show you this graph. So let me explain it to you. What I did was looked through the history file of the car and documented all of the bills that I have evidence of and their amount. There were some bills in there which don't have amounts, but most of them do. And then I plotted that against the mileage. So the big red bars by year are how much money was spent in that year on garage maintenance. And the blue line going through the years from when the car was first on the road, 1990, through to 2021, shows the mileage. It's actually an average smoothed out line for mileage, but it illustrates the point here quite nicely. And what I thought it would be fun to do was just look at this graph in general, really, and sort of examine, I suppose, a little bit more about the big bills that happened in certain years. So there's some peaks here, some quite clear peaks. So first of all, let's start off in the early part of its life. I haven't got any bills per se, but I've got lots of stamps in the service book. So I'm reasonably assured that it was well looked after through the Porsche main dealership. And if you look at the mileage around sort of this 1993 stage, it had done 46,000 miles, gets to 1995, 81,000 miles. So we did a chunk of mileage in just the first few years of its life, really. That's quite a steep increase there in its mileage. And then from there on in, it sort of mellows out, kind of from 95 over to 2002. So what's that, 7 years? You're covering 40,000 miles. So a little bit more kind of average mileage. And then from 2002, really the line increases and sort of stays the same throughout. So you're looking at between 2, 3, 4, 5,000 miles a year. Real sort of, I suppose, second car type ownership in terms of mileage. But interestingly enough, in this peak here, around 138,000 miles, massive big bill. So actually this is the total of all the bills for that year. And there's a couple of big bills sort of either side of this sort of mileage milestone, 138,000, back in 2008. So again, I just find this sort of stuff interesting. If you are thinking of owning a Porsche of this sort of vintage, just what you can expect in terms of bills. All of the bills that I have documented, the amounts are from a Porsche specialist, the big ones I think, during this period of ownership were with Charles Ivey, who are a well-known Porsche specialist. And from what I mentioned earlier, all of these, this period here, sort of 2008, 2009 through to 2011, really, really well maintained. And I believe the car at this time was kind of making an appearance at the Classic Car Club in London. So it's really good to know, I guess, that it was well maintained. Anyway, let's focus on this big bill, 2004, if you're interested. So 2004, Charles Ivey, lots and lots of money spent. So actually, let's go sort of 2002 first. That's the sort of biggish peak, isn't it, first? So if we go to 2002, let's look that up. So 2002, total of nearly £2,000 was spent. Had a full service, water pump, bottom cam housing, cam belt, balance belt, drive belt, water housing seal, power steering cooler hose and feed hose, interior boot light fixed, wheel bearings adjusted, repair to the front headlights. So what was that? 2002, around 120,000 miles. I had a 944 S2 around that time, so I kind of recognise a lot of what would go on there in terms of largest bills. Let's go quickly then to 2004, have a look at that, where £2,300 was spent. So again, more Charles Ivey, more big bills. So there was a big service done, an ABS light was fixed, the clutch pedal rubber was replaced, that can't be expensive, brake light bulb, rear brake discs and pads, handbrake cables, calipers. So I think they've got plates in them that kind of can lift and corrode and get a bit sticky on 944. So the rear calipers replaced worn seals and pistons and the caliper plates. There we go. And the brake system was bled. So again, just informational type stuff. 2004, ticking along, more service. 2008, massive bill. Well, not, I suppose it is on the face of it. If you're new to classic cars and Porsches in general, you might think that's kind of big. It's not really. 138,000 miles and yeah, £4,000 spent. So there was a misfire fixed, new valve spring, cam belt and balance belts done again, new water pump housing, replaced leaking drive shaft oil seals, anti-roll bar brackets, new bushes and fixings, bonnet cable fix, heated rear window fixed. Oh, I'm doing all of these things now. Replaced wiper blades, missing wheel nuts were fixed. Another big service, various bulbs fixed. Problem with the bonnet opening was fixed, new cable, windscreen washer jets, more bulbs, washer system flushed out, etc. All of that totaled £4,000. Next big bill then, big peak there, 2010. Let's look a bit more closely at that. It's worth doing it if you've got your own car. I think this sort of stuff really interesting. 2010 then, back to, where are we, 143,000 miles. Cam belt and balance belt, replace cam cover and spark plug tube seals, replace leaking power assisted steering system and pressure pipe, discs and pads, brake fluid change, more bulbs, more wiper blades, MOTs and things like that. They sort of happen every year. So that's what went on in 2010. That's kind of, I suppose, the second biggest amount of spend. From there on in then, the car doesn't do a huge amount of miles, 143,000 in 2010, going up to, well, before 2016 it gets money spent, 158, so only kind of 15,000 miles across there. I've got some stamps for services done then, but I don't have any bills with any amounts showing on them. So yeah, 2019, roughly 6,000 miles ago, big bill over a couple of £1,000 pretty much, and that again I find really reassuring, and it's quite nice to see on the car. A lot of things were done in that, so I'll quickly whiz through them if you're interested. Oil service, filters, spark plugs, injector cleaner, replaced damaged distorted handbrake shoe, hold down springs on the near side rear handbrake assembly, so all the handbrake was sorted out. Brake pipes corroded, they were sorted out. Various pipes, hoses, brake pipes, carry out brake fluid search, gearbox oil change, gear supply fit and bleed clutch hose, remove starter motor overhauled by a contractor and refitted, replace drive shaft joint rubber gaiters due to original splitting, CV gaiter kits, engine camshaft belt, balance belt, etc. So somebody went over the car really thoroughly, looking at all those kind of key points. Camshaft, drive and balance shaft components within the 944 during the 2019 period. So lots of money spent, and that's not done too many miles since then. So yeah, there we go. I thought that was quite interesting to show, just kind of as a part 3. Once I've documented all this digitally for whoever the future owner might be, and just to sort of plot it on a graph really. It's just interesting to see the mileage over the years, the start of it, the car's life, and how it's kind of gone through and where the money's been spent. There are a few bills, I should have put them in, I haven't done yet for 2021, largely for parts on the jobs that I've done, which you'll no doubt have seen on my other videos around the project updates. Haven't added those in. They obviously don't include labour. They probably should do really, which is my labour because I'm doing the jobs, but there we go, okay. Thanks for watching this lockdown special pedal out video. If you liked it, please, please, please give it a thumbs up. Tell me in the comments what you think, and don't forget, if you haven't done already, please subscribe to the channel, click the little bell icon, and then you get notified whenever there's a new video. Cheers.